Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly just between us. How many times this week did you tell yourself you'd do something and then didn't? Maybe it was waking up early. Maybe it was skipping the second helping. Maybe it was finally making that call. Now here's the part that stings. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're teaching yourself a lesson. Not the lesson you think. You're teaching yourself that your word means nothing, that you can't be trusted, that when the voice inside says we're going to change, it's just noise. And here's what most people never realize. You can lie to everyone else and still build something, but you cannot lie to yourself and win. Because success isn't built on what others believe about you. It's built on what you believe about you. And if you don't trust you, the game's already over. Now, I know that might sound harsh, but I'm not here to make you feel comfortable. I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is this: you already know what to do. You know you should eat better, work harder, save more, read daily, show up consistently. The information isn't the problem. You've got access to more knowledge than any generation in history. Books, videos, courses, mentors, it's all out there. So why aren't you where you want to be? It's not because you don't know the path. It's because you don't trust yourself to walk it. See, most advice tells you to set bigger goals, find your why, visualize success, and those things have their place. But none of that works if the person executing the plan doesn't believe in their own word. If you've spent years breaking promises to yourself, your subconscious has learned one lesson: you are not reliable. And no amount of hype, no amount of motivation, no amount of goal-setting workshops will overcome that fundamental lack of self-trust. This is what we're going to explore together today. Not another goal-setting framework. Not another productivity hack. We're going to rebuild the foundation underneath all of it, your ability to trust yourself. I'm going to show you how self-betrayal destroys everything. Your confidence, your momentum, your results, and how keeping even the smallest promises creates compound credibility that transforms your entire life. Here's the core idea I want you to understand. Success doesn't start with discipline. It starts with self-trust. And self-trust is built one kept promise at a time. Most people think willpower is the issue. It's not. The issue is that you've trained yourself through years of broken commitments to not take yourself seriously. And today, we're going to reverse that training. We're going to teach you how to become someone you can believe in again. And once you do, everything changes. Now, let me tell you something important. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not fundamentally flawed. You've just been operating with a fractured internal contract. And today, we repair it, starting right now. Let me tell you about a farmer I once knew. Every morning before the sun came up, he'd walk to the edge of his field and say out loud, "Today I tend the soil. Today I plant the seed. Today I do what I promised. Rain or shine, tired or rested, didn't matter." He made a vow to the land, and he kept it. Now, this wasn't some grand declaration. He didn't announce it to his family or post it on his barn door. It was just between him and the earth. A quiet promise made in the darkness of early morning. One season, a younger farmer moved in next door, full of energy, big dreams. This young man talked constantly about all the crops he was going to grow, all the wealth he was going to build. He had plans for irrigation systems, new equipment, expanded acreage. He spent hours at the coffee shop in town telling anyone who'd listen about his vision for the future. And you know what? His vision was good. His plans were solid. On paper, he looked like he was going to be wildly successful. But when the mornings were cold, he stayed in bed. When the work was hard, when his back ached and his hands were raw, he found reasons to delay. "I'll start tomorrow." He'd say, "Tomorrow I'll be ready. Tomorrow I'll have more energy. Tomorrow the weather will be better." And tomorrow came, and the excuses came with it. He was always preparing to begin, but never actually beginning. By harvest time, the contrast was undeniable. The older farmers' fields were full corn, standing tall, wheat golden and heavy, vegetables bursting from rich soil. The younger farmers' fields, bare. A few scattered plantings that never took root. Weeds where crops should have been. And the young man, frustrated and confused, couldn't understand it. He had the better education. He had studied agriculture. He knew the science. He had read all the books. So one evening he walked over to the older farmer and asked, "What's your secret? How do you stay so disciplined? I have the same land, the same weather, the same opportunities, but my fields are empty and yours are full. What am I missing?" The older farmer looked at him for a long moment. Then he smiled, not unkindly, and said, "I don't have more discipline than you. I just keep my promises, every single one, because the soil doesn't care about my excuses. It doesn't care if I'm tired or if it's raining or if I don't feel like it today. It only responds to my consistency. You make promises to the soil with every seed you plant. And if you don't follow through, if you don't water, if you don't weed, if you don't tend, the soil can't help you. Not because it's punishing you, but because that's just how it works. That's the lesson, my friend. The universe is like that soil. It doesn't respond to your intentions. It doesn't care about your dreams or your vision boards or your positive affirmations. It responds to your integrity, to whether you do what you said you'd do. If you want to harvest in life financially, relationally, spiritually, physically, you have to tend the field daily. Not because you feel like it, not when conditions are perfect, but because you promised. See, every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you're planting a seed, you're making a deposit. And over time, those deposits grow, they compound, they create something real and tangible. But every time you make a promise and break it, you're pulling up the seeds before they can take root. You're making a withdrawal from an account that's already running low. And eventually there's nothing left to harvest because nothing was allowed to grow. And here's what most people miss about promises. They think the promise itself is what matters. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to save money. I'm going to build a business. They think if they just make the promise loudly enough, confidently enough, that somehow the promise will carry them through. But it won't. Because promises aren't magic words. They're commitments that require action. And action requires one thing above all else, that you trust yourself enough to follow through. Now let me tell you a story about someone I knew very well. Me. Years ago. I was the king of good intentions. I'd wake up Monday morning full of fire. The alarm would go off and I'd bounce out of bed thinking, this is it. This is the week everything changes. I'd have my whole week planned out. This week, I'd say to myself, I'm going to read every day, work out every morning, eat clean, follow the plan, make the calls, do the work. I'd feel so motivated, so ready, so certain. By Wednesday, I'd already broken 3 promises. The reading didn't happen because I was too busy. The workout got skipped because I was too tired. The healthy eating went out the window because, well, pizza was easier. And by Friday, I'd given up entirely. I'd tell myself next week, I'll start fresh next week. This week was just bad timing. And next week would come and the same pattern would repeat. Promise, fail, excuse, repeat. And you know what happened over time? I started avoiding mirrors. Not literally, but emotionally. I didn't want to look myself in the eye because I knew what I'd see. Someone who couldn't be trusted. Someone whose word meant nothing. Someone who was all talk and no follow-through. And the worst part? I justified it. I became an expert at justifying my failures. I told myself, I'm busy. Life's hard. I've got a lot on my plate. I'm doing the best I can. I'll start fresh next week. But next week came and went. And so did the next month. And the next year. And my life stayed exactly the same because I stayed exactly the same. Then one day, someone asked me a question that changed everything. I was talking to a friend complaining, really, about how hard it was to stay disciplined, about how I'd start strong and then lose momentum. And they listened patiently, and then they said, Jim, let me ask you something. If you had a business partner who constantly broke their commitments to you, who said they'd show up but didn't, who promised results but delivered excuses, who agreed to do their part but never followed through, how long would you keep them around? I didn't even have to think about it. I said, not long. Maybe a few weeks. If they kept breaking their word, I'd end the partnership. You can't build anything with someone you can't count on. And my friend nodded and said, so why are you keeping yourself around? That question hit me like a hammer. I literally felt it in my chest. Because they were right. I was in a partnership with myself, the most important partnership I'd ever have, and I was the worst partner I'd ever had. I wouldn't tolerate that behavior from anyone else, yet I tolerated it from me. Day after day, week after week, year after year, I kept giving myself chance after chance while delivering excuse after excuse. And the cost was my life, my potential, my future, all sitting there waiting for me to become someone reliable enough to build it. That's when I made a decision. I said to myself, I'm going to become someone I can trust, starting with one promise, one day at a time. No big speeches, no dramatic declarations, just one simple promise, and I'm going to keep it. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't overhaul my whole life overnight. I didn't create some massive transformation plan. I just started small. I promised myself I'd read 10 pages a day. That's it, 10 pages. Not a whole book, not 2 hours of study, just 10 pages. And you know what? The first day was hard. Not because reading 10 pages is difficult, it's not, but because I didn't trust myself to do it. I kept thinking, you're going to quit, you always quit, why should today be any different? But I read the 10 pages anyway. And the next day I read 10 more. And the day after that. And slowly, something shifted. It wasn't about the reading anymore. It was about the promise. I was proving to myself just a little that I could do what I said I'd do. After 30 days, I added another promise. I said, I'm going to take a 15-minute walk every morning. And I kept that promise too. Not because it was easy. Some mornings it was cold. Some mornings I was tired. But I did it because I'd made a promise. And I was becoming someone who keeps promises. Then I added another and another. And slowly, so slowly, I almost didn't notice my self-trust rebuilt. And with it, everything else followed. My income grew. My relationships deepened. My confidence returned. Not because I suddenly became superhuman, but because I became reliable to myself. And that's when I realized something profound. Self-trust is the foundation of everything. You can't build a disciplined life on a foundation of self-betrayal. It's impossible. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do hard things. It's about becoming someone who does what they say they'll do, especially when no one's watching. Especially when it doesn't matter to anyone else. Especially when you could get away with quitting. See, most people think discipline is this external force you impose, like a drill sergeant yelling at you, like punishment and restriction and willpower. But real discipline, it's internal. It's the quiet contract you make with yourself. It's the agreement between who you are today and who you want to become tomorrow. And every time you honor that contract, you make a deposit into your self-trust account. Every time you break it, you make a withdrawal. And just like a bank account, if you keep withdrawing without depositing, eventually you go broke. That's what happens to people who can't keep promises to themselves. They become emotionally bankrupt. They stop believing in their own capacity to change. They hear themselves say, I'm going to do better, and they don't even believe it anymore because they've heard it 1,000 times before and nothing changed. And once you stop believing in you, once your own subconscious doesn't take you seriously, it's over. Because you can't build anything, not a business, not a body, not a relationship, not a life, without self-trust. Now here's the paradox that most people miss. The smallest promises build the biggest trust. You think it doesn't matter if you skip the morning routine. You think it's no big deal if you ignore the journal entry, if you delay the phone call, if you eat the cookie you said you wouldn't eat. It's just one day. You tell yourself, it's not that important. But it is. Because your subconscious is always watching, always taking notes, always learning. And it's asking one question. Can I trust this person? Every single day. And when you break the small promises, you're giving it an answer. You're saying, no, you can't trust me. When things get hard, I fold. When I'm uncomfortable, I quit. When no one's watching, I take the easy way. And your subconscious hears that. And it learns. And the next time you try to do something difficult, start a business, lose weight, save money, build a relationship, your subconscious says, yeah, right. I've heard this before. You're going to quit. You always do. And it's not trying to sabotage you. It's just telling you the truth based on the evidence you've provided. But here's the beautiful part. The same mechanism that destroys you can also build you. Because when you keep the small promises, your subconscious learns something different. It learns, oh, we're serious now. When we say we'll do something, we actually do it. And that changes everything. Because now when you set a big goal, when you commit to something difficult, your subconscious doesn't fight you, it supports you. It says, based on our track record, we can probably do this. And that belief, that quiet, internal confidence, is what makes impossible things possible. Let me be clear about something. Broken promises don't just affect that one area. They train you to fail across your entire life. Here's what nobody tells you. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're not just failing at that one thing. You're training, you're practicing, you're rehearsing failure, and your brain is learning a pattern. Think about it. If you say you'll wake up at 6 in the morning and you don't, you hit snooze, you roll over, you steal another 30 minutes of comfort, you've just practiced breaking your word, you've rehearsed giving in when things are uncomfortable. If you say you'll eat healthy today, and then you don't, you grab the fast food, you eat the dessert. You cave to the craving, you've rehearsed, choosing immediate pleasure over long-term commitment. If you say you'll work on your dream tonight and you don't, you watch TV, instead you scroll your phone, you find something easier to do, you've trained yourself to abandon your own goals, and the brain, it learns through repetition. That's how it works. Every time you repeat a behavior, you're strengthening that neural pathway. You're making it easier to do that thing again. So when you repeatedly break promises, your brain says, oh, I see. This is the pattern. When things get hard, we quit. When we're uncomfortable, we retreat. When we have a choice between comfort and commitment, we choose comfort. Got it. And that pattern, it doesn't stay isolated. It spreads. It infects every area of your life. You wonder why you can't stick to a budget? Because you've trained yourself to break financial promises. I'll only spend this much. I'll save this percentage. I won't buy that. And then you do. You justify it. You explain it away. But your brain sees what really happened. Another promise broken. Another commitment abandoned. Another withdrawal from the self-trust account. You wonder why relationships fall apart. Because you've trained yourself to break relational commitments. I'll call them back. I'll show up on time. I'll listen better. I'll be more present. And then you don't. You get busy. You get distracted. You prioritize something else. And your brain logs that information. It learns. We don't keep our word, even to people we care about. You wonder why your health keeps declining? Because you've trained yourself to break physical promises. I'll exercise today. I'll eat clean this week. I'll get enough sleep. And then life happens. You're tired. You're stressed. The couch looks comfortable and the gym looks like work. And you choose comfort again and again. And your brain says, right. When it comes to our body, we talk about change, but we don't actually change. Note it. It all starts with the promises you make and break with yourself. Every broken promise is a vote. A vote for the person you're leaving behind instead of the person you're trying to become. And life counts the votes. At the end of the year, at the end of 5 years, at the end of your life, all those votes add up and they determine where you end up. Not your intentions, not your dreams, your votes, your kept promises versus your broken ones. But here's the good news, and I need you to really hear this. If you can train yourself to fail, you can train yourself to win. The same way, one promise at a time, one day at a time, one small decision at a time, you're not stuck, you're not doomed, you're just in a pattern. And patterns can be changed, but you have to understand something crucial. You don't need bigger goals, you need smaller promises. This is where most people go wrong. They fail because they aim too high too fast. They wake up one Monday morning and say, that's it. I'm going to lose 50 pounds, build a business, fix my marriage, learn a new language, and transform my entire life all starting today. And they feel so motivated in that moment, so certain, so ready. They make this massive list of changes. They create this elaborate plan, and they announce it to everyone. This time is different. This time I'm serious. And by Tuesday, they're overwhelmed. By Wednesday, they're exhausted. By Friday, they're back to old patterns, feeling worse than before because now they've added failure to their list of problems. They think, see, I can't do this. I tried and I failed again. But they didn't fail because they weren't capable. They failed because they started with a marathon when they needed to start with a single step. Here's the truth that'll set you free. Big goals don't build discipline. Small promises do. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need to keep one promise today. Just one. Not 10, not 5, one. Make it small. Make it doable. Make it almost embarrassingly easy. Because we're not trying to transform your life in one day. We're trying to transform who you are. We're trying to rebuild your self-trust. And that happens slowly, quietly, in the smallest moments. Maybe your one promise is, I'll make my bed every morning. That's it. 30 seconds of work. But when you do it, you've proven something to yourself. You've shown yourself that you can do what you say you'll do. Maybe it's, I'll drink water instead of soda today. One decision, one kept promise. Maybe it's, I'll read one page before bed, not a chapter, not a book. One page. Doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is you said it and you did it. Because when you keep a small promise, something shifts. It's subtle. You might not even notice it at first. But deep in your subconscious, something changes. You prove to yourself just a little that you're someone who follows through, that your word means something, that you can be trusted. And that proof, it's fuel. It builds momentum. It creates credibility. Not with other people, with yourself. And over time, those tiny kept promises stack into something massive. Think about it like this. If you keep one small promise every day for a year, that's 365 kept promises. 365 deposits into your self-trust account. 365 pieces of evidence that you're reliable. And after a year of that, you're not the same person anymore. You've literally retrained your brain. You've created a new pattern. You've become someone who keeps their word. And that person can build anything. But it starts small. Smaller than you think. Smaller than your ego wants. Your ego wants the big dramatic change. It wants to announce the transformation. It wants to impress people. But your soul, your subconscious, it just wants to know if you can be trusted. And it doesn't care about big promises. It cares about kept ones. So start small. Ridiculously small. So small you can't fail. So small there's no excuse. And then keep that promise every day, no matter what. Now let me tell you why you break promises in the first place. Because if you understand the why, you can change the pattern. Here's the truth. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you lack willpower. It's not because you're broken or weak or fundamentally flawed. You break promises because in the moment of decision, comfort feels better than growth. Let me explain. You set the alarm for 6 in the morning because you genuinely want to be disciplined. You want to start your day early. You want to have that quiet morning time to read, to think, to plan. You set that alarm with the best of intentions. But when 6 o'clock comes, the bed is warm, the room is dark, your body is tired, and your brain, that wonderful, protective, comfort-seeking brain of yours says, you're tired, you need rest, you've been working hard, you deserve to sleep. You can start tomorrow. Tomorrow you'll have more energy. Tomorrow will be better. And in that moment you have a choice. A split-second decision that will determine who you're becoming. You can honor the promise and get up, or you can chase comfort and stay in bed. And most people, they choose comfort. And I understand why. I really do. Comfort feels good. The warm bed feels better than the cold floor. The extra sleep feels better than the discipline. In that moment, comfort wins. But here's the cost. Here's what you're actually choosing. You're not just choosing an extra 30 minutes of sleep. You're choosing to be someone who breaks promises. You're choosing to teach your brain that comfort matters more than commitment. You're choosing to stay the same instead of grow. And I know that sounds dramatic. You're thinking, Jim, it's just hitting snooze. It's not that deep. But it is. Because it's never just one thing. It's the pattern. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you lose a little bit of yourself. You lose trust. You lose respect. You lose belief, not from other people, from yourself. And over time, you become someone who can't be counted on, not by others, not by yourself. The same thing happens with food. You promise yourself you'll eat healthy. You have a plan. You know what you should do. But then the day gets stressful. Work is hard. Someone says something that bothers you. You're tired. And that cookie is right there. That pizza is so easy. That comfort food is calling your name. And your brain says, you've had a hard day. You deserve this. You've been good all week. One treat won't hurt. You can start fresh tomorrow. And again, you have a choice. Keep the promise or chase the comfort. And most people choose comfort. They eat the thing they said they wouldn't eat. And in that moment, it feels good. It tastes good. It temporarily relieves the stress. But afterwards, there's that familiar feeling. That quiet disappointment. That little voice that says, you did it again. You said you wouldn't, and you did. Why can't you just stick to what you say? It happens with money. You promise yourself you'll stick to the budget. You're going to save. You're going to be responsible. But then you see something you want, something that would make life easier or more fun or more comfortable. And your brain says, you work hard. You deserve nice things. Life is short. What's the point of making money if you never enjoy it? And you buy it, you justify it, you explain it away. But deep down, you know you broke another promise. You chose immediate comfort over long-term commitment. It happens with your dreams. You promise yourself you'll work on your business tonight. You'll write those pages. You'll make those calls. You'll do the work that matters. But then the evening comes and you're tired. The couch looks comfortable. The TV is easy. Your favorite show is on. And your brain says, you've worked all day. You need to relax. You can work on your dream tomorrow. One night won't make a difference. And you choose comfort again. Here's what I need you to understand. Comfort isn't free. It's not neutral. It's not harmless. Comfort is expensive. It costs you your future. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you're trading tomorrow for today. You're selling your potential for temporary relief. You're mortgaging your dreams for momentary ease. And the tragedy is, most people don't realize they're doing it until years have passed and they look back and wonder, where did my life go? Why am I still in the same place? But here's the hard truth, delivered with love. Comfort is the enemy of growth. You cannot grow and stay comfortable at the same time. You cannot build discipline and chase comfort simultaneously. You have to choose. And most people, when faced with that choice in the moment, choose comfort. They choose the warm bed over the cold morning. They choose the easy meal over the healthy one. They choose the entertainment over the effort. They choose to stay the same over the discomfort of change. And then they wonder why their life doesn't change. So what's the answer? How do you break the cycle? You learn to recognize the moment of decision. You learn to see when your brain is offering you the comfort trap. And you learn to say, I see you. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep me safe. You're trying to keep me comfortable. But I don't want comfortable anymore. I want growth. I want to become someone I can trust. And that means keeping this promise, even though it's uncomfortable. And here's what happens when you do that. When you choose commitment over comfort, something powerful occurs. You prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought, that you can do hard things, that discomfort won't kill you. And every time you choose commitment, it gets a little easier. Not because the choice becomes comfortable, it doesn't, but because you build evidence, you build proof, you build trust. And that trust becomes stronger than the pull of comfort. Now let me show you something beautiful. The compound effect of kept promises, because here's what changes everything. Kept promises compound, just like interest in a bank account, just like skills developed over time, just like relationships nurtured daily. Kept promises grow and multiply and create exponential returns. When you keep one promise today, something happens. You prove to yourself that you're capable. And that proof makes it easier to keep two promises tomorrow. Not easy, but easier, because now you have evidence. You can point to yesterday and say, I did it then. I can do it now. And when you keep promises for a week, a month becomes possible. When you keep them for a month, you start to believe that maybe, just maybe, you're becoming someone different, someone reliable, someone who keeps their word. And when you keep promises for a year, you become someone entirely different. You're not the person you were 12 months ago. That person broke promises. That person couldn't be trusted. That person started strong and quit early. But you're someone who keeps their word. You're someone who follows through. You're someone who does what they say they'll do, day after day, week after week, month after month. And that person can build anything. Because now you're no longer fighting yourself. You're no longer sabotaging your own progress. You're no longer in conflict between what you say and what you do. You're aligned, mind, body, and action, all moving in the same direction. You set a goal, and you believe you can achieve it because you have a track record of keeping promises. You face a challenge, and you trust yourself to figure it out because you've proven you don't quit. You encounter discomfort, and you push through because that's who you are now. This is the transformation. You stop being your own worst enemy and become your greatest ally. You stop fighting against yourself and start working with yourself. And when that happens, when you're no longer divided, there's nothing you can't do. Not because you suddenly gain superpowers, but because all of your energy, all of your focus, all of your commitment is flowing in one direction. Instead of being split between what you say and what you do. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people. Both want to lose 50 pounds. Both have the same goal, same starting point, same resources. But one person has spent the last year keeping small promises to themselves, making their bed, reading daily, taking walks, keeping commitments, building self-trust. The other person has spent the last year breaking promises, hitting snooze, skipping workouts, eating whatever, justifying failures, destroying self-trust. Now they both start their weight loss journey. Who do you think succeeds? The person with the track record of kept promises or the person with the track record of broken ones? The answer's obvious. Because the first person believes they can do it. Their subconscious has evidence, their past supports their present, but the second person, even as they start, they're doubting. Their subconscious is saying, yeah, right, we've tried this before, we always quit, why should this time be different? And that doubt becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why kept promises compound. Because they don't just help you achieve one goal, they change who you are. They transform your identity. They shift you from someone who tries to someone who does. From someone who starts to someone who finishes. From someone who talks to someone who acts. And that shift, that's worth more than any single goal. Because once you've made that shift, every goal becomes achievable. So how do you start? How do you actually rebuild self-trust? Let me give you the practical steps. Not theory, not philosophy. The actual process, you can begin today. Right now. This moment. Step 1. Start with one non-negotiable promise. Just one. Don't try to fix everything. Don't try to overhaul your whole life. Pick one promise. One small, simple, doable thing you will do every single day for the next 30 days. No exceptions, no excuses, no negotiations. It could be, I will make my bed every morning. It could be, I will read 10 pages every day. It could be, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for before bed. It could be, I will take a 15-minute walk. It could be, I will drink 8 glasses of water. It could be, I will call one person I care about. Pick something, anything, but make it small. Make it so small that you cannot fail unless you choose to. Make it so simple that there's no valid excuse. Notice something important here. These aren't life-changing by themselves. Making your bed doesn't transform your finances. Reading 10 pages doesn't build your business. Writing gratitude doesn't fix your relationships. But that's not the point. We're not trying to transform your life in one day. We're trying to transform who you are. We're trying to rebuild your self-trust. We're trying to prove to yourself that you can keep your word. And that starts small, smaller than your ego wants, but exactly as small as your soul needs. Write it down. Don't just think it. Write it. Say it out loud. Make it your singular focus for 30 days, not 30 goals, not 10 habits, one promise. Because if you can't keep one, you won't keep 10. But if you can keep one for 30 days, you'll have proven something profound to yourself. Step 2, create a visual accountability system. Don't rely on memory. Don't rely on motivation. Don't trust your feelings. Create a system that holds you accountable. Get a calendar, a physical paper calendar. Hang it somewhere you'll see it every day. Every day you keep your promise, mark an X on that calendar. That's it. No apps, no complicated tracking, no digital systems, just a simple X for every day you follow through. Why does this work? Because after a few days, you'll see a chain of X's forming, and something in you won't want to break that chain. It becomes visual proof that you're someone who keeps their word. It becomes evidence you can see. And that evidence, it's powerful. It's motivating in a way that feelings never are. Because feelings come and go, motivation rises and falls. But that chain of X's, that's real. That's factual. That's proof. And here's what's beautiful about it. You're not just tracking behavior. You're building identity. Every X isn't just marking a completed task. It's marking a day you became someone who keeps promises. A day you chose commitment over comfort. A day you were reliable. And when you look at that calendar and see 30 X's in a row, you're not seeing 30 days, you're seeing proof of who you're becoming. Step 3, repair the break immediately. Now here's the reality. You will break a promise at some point. Life happens. You get sick, you get overwhelmed, something genuinely unexpected occurs, you fail, that's okay. What's not okay is letting that failure define the next day. What's not okay is using one break as permission to quit entirely. If you break your promise, repair it immediately. Don't spiral. Don't catastrophize. Don't say, well, I already messed up. Might as well quit. I'll start over next month. That's how you lose. That's how years pass, and nothing changes. Instead, acknowledge it. Be honest about it. Say, I broke my promise today. That's not who I'm becoming. Tomorrow I keep it. And then keep it. Get back on track immediately. Not next week, not next month, tomorrow. Because the strength of your self-trust isn't measured by perfection. Nobody's perfect. Everybody fails. The measure is how fast you get back up after you fall. Do you stay down? Do you quit? Do you use one failure as permission to abandon everything? Or do you stand up, dust yourself off, and say, that was a setback, not a stopping point? That's the difference between people who transform and people who stay stuck. Step 4, stack promises over time. Once you've kept one promise for 30 days, you've proven something profound to yourself. You've proven you're capable. You've proven you can be trusted. You've proven that you're not the person who always quits. Now and only now, add a second promise. Then after another 30 days, add a third. Stack them slowly. One at a time. 1 month at a time. Don't rush. Don't overload. Don't try to do everything at once. Just build. Steadily, consistently, patiently. One promise at a time, and watch what happens over a year. In 12 months, you could be someone who keeps 12 daily promises without effort, without struggle, without willpower. Because that's just who you are now. Someone whose word to themselves is sacred. Someone who's disciplined, not because they force it, but because that's their identity. Imagine that person. Imagine someone who makes their bed every morning, reads every day, exercises consistently, eats with discipline, saves money regularly, works on their dreams faithfully, nurtures their relationships intentionally, and learns continuously. Not because they have superhuman willpower, but because they're someone who keeps promises. That person exists. And they're not special. They're not gifted. They're not lucky. They just decided one day to start keeping one promise. And then another, and another. And they became someone entirely different. That person could be you. That person should be you. That person will be you if you start today and don't stop. Now, let me address something important. Some of you are thinking, but Jim, what if I've failed at this before? What if I've tried to keep promises and broken them? What if I've already destroyed my self-trust? Is it too late? And my answer is simple, no. It's not too late. It's never too late. You can always rebuild. You can always start again. You can always become someone new. See, your past doesn't define your future unless you let it. Yes, you've broken promises before. Yes, you've failed before. Yes, you've quit before. So what? That was then. This is now. And right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can either keep living in the pattern that's kept you stuck, or you can choose to create a new pattern. Starting today, starting with one promise. Your subconscious doesn't care about your history. It cares about your consistency. It's not holding grudges. It's not judging you. It's just looking at the evidence and making predictions. And right now, based on past evidence, it predicts you'll fail. But you can change that prediction one day at a time. One kept promise at a time. You can create new evidence, new patterns, new predictions. And eventually your subconscious will say, oh, we're different now. We're someone who keeps promises now. Noted, it won't happen overnight. You won't wake up tomorrow with perfect self-trust. But you will wake up tomorrow with one choice. Keep today's promise or break it. And if you keep it, that's one piece of new evidence. One deposit. One step toward becoming someone new. And if you do that tomorrow and the next day and the next, in 30 days, you'll have 30 pieces of evidence. And that's enough to start changing the prediction. So don't let your past failures stop you from trying again. Don't let your broken promises define who you are today. You're not who you were. You're who you're choosing to become. And that choice is always available, always present, always possible. Let me bring this home. If you can't keep promises to yourself, you'll never win. Not because the world is against you, not because you lack talent or opportunity or resources, but because you've trained yourself not to trust the one person who controls your destiny, you. And without self-trust, everything else crumbles. Your goals become wishes. Your plans become fantasies. Your dreams become regrets. Because execution requires one thing above all else, believing that when you say you'll do something, you'll actually do it. But here's the beautiful part. The part I want you to hold on to. The part that should give you hope. You can change that. Today, right now, this moment. Not by overhauling your entire life. Not by making 100 resolutions. Not by waiting for motivation or the perfect moment. But by making one promise and keeping it. Because every kept promise is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every broken one is a vote for the person you're leaving behind. And life counts the votes. At the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the year, at the end of your life, all those votes add up, and they determine where you end up, who you become, what you build, what you leave behind. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, keep one promise, just one. Make it small, make it doable, make it non-negotiable, and watch what happens. Not just to your results, not just to your goals, but to how you see yourself, to how you feel when you look in the mirror, to how you respond when life gets hard. Watch yourself transform from someone who tries to someone who does, from someone who talks to someone who acts, from someone who dreams to someone who builds. You are not weak. You are not undisciplined. You are not broken. You've just been breaking promises. And today that ends. Today you become someone you can trust, someone you believe in, someone you're proud of. And that changes everything. Your confidence changes. Your momentum changes. Your results change. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So make the promise. Keep the promise. Build the trust. Become the person. And watch your life transform. Not through hype, not through motivation, not through positive thinking, but through the simple, powerful, undeniable truth of a life built on integrity, with yourself, for yourself, by yourself. If this resonated with you, if something inside you stirred and said, yes, I need this, do me a favor. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's the one promise you're going to keep for the next 30 days? Write it down, make it public, make it real. Let's build this together. Because when you share your commitment, you're not just telling me, you're telling yourself. You're making it real. You're taking the first step. And if you found value here, if this message hit home, if you felt something shift inside you, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel, because we're just getting started. There's more wisdom coming your way. More truth. More life-changing philosophy. More principles that can transform not just what you do, but who you are. And I want to walk that journey with you. Now go. Keep your promise. Do what you said you'd do. Become who you were meant to be. Start small. Start today. Start now. And don't stop until you're someone you can trust. Someone you believe in. Someone you're proud to be. Because that person can build anything. That person can achieve anything. That person can become anything. And that person is waiting for you on the other side of one kept promise. So go make it, keep it, and become it. I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in you.